Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Beyond Mirage. Today, we have with us very young environment and wildlife presenter, filmmaker, and conservationist Suyash Keshari. He has worked on several projects with WWF International and Lonely Planet, and his works have been showcased globally. At the age of 19, he was awarded Nature's Best Photography Asia Award for a photograph of 6 months old tigress, and he has also created Safari with Suyash TV, which is India's first OTT platform dedicated to wildlife. Welcome, Suyash, the podcast and web series of Beyond Mirage.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay. It's a pleasure to be here on Beyond Mirage, and I look forward to having some incredible conversations with you and share some exciting stories from the wild with your listeners.
Amazing. So, Suyash, first I would like to start with the profession that you are in. How did you get that inner calling that you want
Sure.
to do something like this? Because the profession you are in is very niche, and I would
Yeah.
say the path which is less traveled, specifically in India. So, what was that trigger point?
I think for me, it's always been a part of who I am as a person. Since I was 4 or 5 years old, I've been introduced to National Geographic, Animal Planet, Discovery. So at a very young age, I was watching, instead of watching Tomcat Jerry, I was watching hyenas devouring a live kill, lions hunting, tigers nursing their cubs, those kind of shows. And growing up in central India, having big backyards full of birds, full of sometimes peacocks would come in, langurs would come in, rhesus macaque would come in. Every now and then there would be a deer. Uh, I think growing in that sort of environment really pushed me to kind of get close to nature. Even in 42 degrees, 45 degrees heat, I would be sitting next to the water hole that we had at our home, watching fish in the water, watching kingfishers, watching egrets, and then just having a great time. Despite being scolded by my mom, because I'll fall sick. It's too hot, especially 6-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid. It's too hot anyway. Um, I think that started at a very early age, and because of these shows, I always wanted to be like, hey, if people like David Attenborough, Steve Irwin, Steve Winter, Steve Backshall can do it, why can't I do it? And I always wanted to be a wildlife presenter. So from a very young age, I wanted to present in front of camera and do what I'm doing.
Wow, that's amazing. And did you face any opposition? Because this is the question that I think most of the people would be looking forward to. Because whenever, specifically in India, when we say something that we want to do the we want to take the path which is less traveled, then
Yeah,
there is a lot of opposition. So what about
yeah,
that?
yeah. Uh, I think the opposition it was surely there, but not among, uh, thankfully, not among my parents. They were very supportive. Uh, Initially in school, they were not as support. They were supportive of the passion, but they never thought it could become a profession.
Okay.
So they were always supportive of the passion. Even in college, they were always supportive of the passion, but they just did not know how it could become a profession.
Mm,
Um, so they're always a little concerned, but they always supported. Okay, you like doing it, do it. Um, so when I was gonna quit my job and move back from Washington D.C. to India and start working on what I want to work on, of course there were concerns, but they asked me. They said, "Do you have a plan? What are you gonna do?" And then they let me do it nonetheless. And I think over time they realized, yes, it can be a profession. So I had to actually show it to them. But when it came to my friends, a lot of them were just like, "What the hell? What are you doing, dude? You're leaving a stable paycheck. What? You're just going to be in the jungles all the time?" To a lot of people, that doesn't entice. That doesn't make sense. But if you truly make a living out of it, if you truly make a career out of it, a career that is fulfilling, a career that is impactful for others in a positive manner, I think it can go a long way.
wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
what is that one thing that you kept telling yourself to push yourself harder?
Good question. I think I wasn't telling myself anything rather than just the wildlife and the wildlife encounters I was having. was giving me such incredible highs that I just went from one high to a low to another high to a low to another high. So I never used to, because I'll be honest, what I was telling myself was that I might have made a wrong decision and is it worth it? I was questioning myself all
Hmm.
along the way.
Right.
Truly, I was questioning myself all along the way. Only recently, only recently, I started like really believing in myself that I'm doing good.
Okay.
But for 2 years, I was questioning myself. So a lot of people might look at my journey and say, yeah, man, this guy had it figured out. No, I didn't have it figured out. For 2 years of my journey, I was questioning myself. For the past 1.5 years, I'm like, okay, I have a vision. I'm gonna follow that.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, and you have traveled to so many locations. So, which is your
yeah.
favorite location so far and why?
Mm. Ooh, very difficult to pick. I think if you look at a holistic experience, not only wildlife, then it has to be South Africa or Costa Rica. The reason being that South Africa is so diverse in terms of landscapes. You have the mountains and the sea and incredible diversity of wildlife. In India, what we have is also amazing, but in South Africa, what makes it a little more enticing sometimes is the fact that you have this private game reserve management system, which allows you to see that you're actually conserving a lot of animals in a private manner, and people are doing it. People like you and me have huge pieces of land, and they actually conserve everything that lives in it.
Wow.
That's amazing. um, and I think I love Indian wildlife. Don't get me wrong. Of course, most my career is based here. I'm the guy from Central India. I'm the Bandhavgarh guy. I love Madhya Pradesh. MP Ajab hai, sabse gajab hai. But because we're talking about some different locations, I wanted to emphasize why, and emphasize the fact that we can learn from places like South Africa, from Costa Rica. Costa Rica is so sustainable in their efforts. Their footprint, ecological footprint is very, very low, very minimal, and their forests have incredible amount of biodiversity, the kind of biodiversity that India only has in a very few places. And much of the forest in Costa Rica and much of the land in South Africa is still wild. Unfortunately, here in India, we can't say that.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. And when I read about your goal, that is to connect
Mm.
people with nature and tell stories that would evoke passion in hearts and minds. So, can you tell us that how storytelling basically has helped you to create the impact that
Yeah,
you always wanted to create?
that's a good question. I think let's take one of my most impactful stories in the career, which is the story of this tigress called Solo.
Solo.
Uh, yeah, the tiger. There was a tigress called Solo from Bandhavgarh. I knew her since she was 4 months old. Her mother was the first tiger I saw in Bandhavgarh, and Solo was actually the first tiger I actually followed from the time she was a cub till adulthood. And I saw her, trying to raise her first litter of cubs and fail. I saw her in the beginning, leaving her mother, fighting with her siblings, enjoying with her siblings, having a great time, carving out her own territory inside her mother's territory, somewhat pushing her mother out, uh, failing to raise the first litter of cubs because they were killed by an intruding male. The males who are not the fathers of the cubs will kill the cubs in order to mate with the females, bring her back into heat. Because in nature, it's only survival of the fittest, and only the most dominant gene must pass. That's just how nature is. So I was documenting all of this process. Then when I made my first series, season one of Suyash with WWF International, I focused on solo. I also did a documentary for Root. I focused on solo, and the idea was that if this is how is raising. These are the difficulties she faces, and this is how human-like their characteristics are. And at the same time, she has a very difficult life Not only because it's difficult for tigers in the wild, but because people like you and I are making it difficult for tigers in the wild. Because of all the habitat, there will come a time where Solo will not have enough space. Her cubs will not have enough space because the population in Bandhavgarh is already full. So the reserve is already full of tigers. You cannot have any more tigers. So they cannot disperse into other tiger habitats because the corridors are weak. It's not as easy to just tranquilize a tiger and send it to another reserve. It's very difficult, a lot of problems. So my point is, all of these problems, we can keep talking about the problems, but if you get people to love one single animal, like Solo, if you can tell people that here's a tigress, here's her life, here's the beauty, here's the charisma, here are the difficulties, here is the way we can save them. And guess what? If we can save her, then we can save every single tiger like her, and we can save every single animal, every single tree, every single river that lives in that habitat. So for me, if I can save Solo, or if I can save one tiger, I can save the rest of the ecosystem. But what ended up happening, unfortunately, is October 17th, 2020, Solo was poisoned. Uh, yeah, and it was one of the most devastating things in my career because I took it as a personal failure. And many other people took it as a personal failure because someone came and poisoned her because she killed a cattle carcass. I don't know. It might have been for poaching. It might have been for anything, but she got poisoned because yeah, there was just not enough. We could have done more, I think.
Right. In between, you talked about the conflicts between human and wildlife. So, what are your views on these kind of conflicts that arises because of unsustainable development?
Yeah, a lot of people think oh, uh, leopards and tigers are just entering, and the famous quote ki leopard ghus gaya, tiger ghus gaya.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's the top media news, but in reality, let's say that let's say that this keyboard is a forest land. Okay,
Okay.
earlier this tiger's territory and this tiger's territory and this tiger's territory was all in a forest.
Hmm.
What happened over time is this path was taken up by roads and settlements.
Hmm.
This was taken up by villages, and then this village grew so much that it nearly connected. But then there's a tiger living here, and then there's a tiger living here,
Right.
or a leopard, or any animal. Earlier, it could go from here to here in order to disperse, but now it has to go from here to here. It has to go through the villages.
Right.
So where else will the tiger go? It doesn't have this spot of land does not have any water. This spot of land does not have any prey base. Maybe because people here have hunted and killed the prey, or maybe they've finished all the water. The groundwater has evaporated because of farming. Where will this tiger go?
Hmm.
That's why it has to cross human civilization. We entered and collapsed their ecosystems. Versus if it was sustainable development, okay, if we say we are going to create a village here, we're going to create a uh, road here, that means this forest will get divided, right?
Right.
So why don't we find a way to connect this forest like this or like that
Hmm.
and fence this area so that the tiger is forced to go around because it still has that forested landscape.
Right.
There are a lot of ways we could do that, but I think it's the development is unplanned and unsustainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you like to share any shocking fact? Because since we were talking about unsustainable development and human wildlife conflicts, would you like to share any shocking fact that would like blow the minds of all the listeners and viewers?
Over 600 rivers, streams, and rivulets originate from India's tiger reserves. They feed over 55% of our population. If the tiger reserves go, or if the tigers go, the tiger reserves go because there's nothing to protect them, right? And if
Hmm.
the tiger reserves go, every single river in our, not every single, but at least 600 rivers, streams, and rivulets, which support 55% of the population, will be at risk of becoming another Yamuna.
Okay.
It's going to be very, very difficult. We are here and we live comfortable lives because of our tiger reserves, because of our national parks, because of our green spaces, which not only provide oxygen and are the lungs of this country, but also they provide us with so much more, including water. So I think also, there was some statistic, I don't know the exact statistics, but you're far more likely to be killed by a rampaging cow than, say, a shark or a tiger.
Oh,
I think that the statistic was like 400 times more likely.
okay.
So people always think, tigers are going to kill me, tigers are going to kill me, but they're far more likely to be hit by a car or be killed by a rampaging cow than a tiger. That doesn't mean you go up into the tiger's face and try attacking it. I'm just saying people are always scared.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
What role can businesses and specifically individuals can play in conservation?
Yeah, that's a great idea or question rather. What I have done is like I recently launched a merchandise line,
Hmm.
which we are donating 100% of profits towards wildlife conservation. You can go and see it on suyashkeshari.com. And our idea is to initially start building water holes for wildlife in water deficit areas. I think whenever we talk about initiatives and people doing something or individual businesses doing something, it has to be meaningful. It has to um, involve communities, and it has to create long-term impact.
Hmm.
Short-term impact is not is not the need of the hour. We need long-term impact. What is long-term? We need better water systems. We need to uplift the alleviate the conditions of forest staff. We also need to find ways to reconnect different habitats. We also need to reconstruct habitats and replant many of the places that have been completely barren. So that's something that people should really look out for. And I think what people in cities and companies in cities can do is really take up trash cleaning initiatives. Uh, People think, okay, I have to clean 10 kgs of trash a day. No, even if you pick up one single piece of trash for 365 days a year, and 10 people do it, 100 people do it, 1,000 people do it, that's going to make it.
Right, right.
Start small, be impactful, think long term.
Got
Yeah.
it. Perfect. Uh, so in this entire journey, there would be many moments that would have impacted you internally,
Yeah.
and there could be also a moment that you would have experienced near death. So, would you like to share any near death experience?
Mm. I have so many. I think in I'll share. Okay, I'll share one which which happened very recently with an elephant. Um, and not very recently. It was in 2019 actually. So elephants are actually gentle giants, but if you get in the wrong side of an elephant, you can have a lot of problems. So what happened was we were filming in South Africa. My crew and I were filming, and I was driving the vehicle. I was presenting in front of camera, and we were just around an elephant herd. And one of the elephants decided to come and try checking out the car. I thought it was quite interesting. Funny smells inside, funny sounds inside. Let me go and inspect it. When a child is curious, okay, at home, like when a newborn is curious, or when a 4 or 5 year old is curious, they go and try touching things and inspecting it. When an elephant is curious, it'll do the same thing. But a child touching a car versus an elephant touching a car is a very, very different thing. You're talking about a 1 ton giant touching your car. So this was the car, and the elephant, funny, it says go for it. The elephant thought, let's just go for it. So when the elephant touched the car, he came, he sniffed, and I was talking to him very calmly, hi, how you doing, all that stuff, no aggression. So he touched it once, the car went a little sideways. He touched it twice, the car went a little sideways. Then he touched it the third time, and no aggression at all. Third time he touched it, the car went like this.
Oh,
And then he left it and boom, back on the ground. And that sound back on the ground got him so scared that he ran away.
oh,
But imagine if he had said that, oh, I like touching this, and he kept doing that, and what if the car topped it?
right.
So yeah, it's like it gives you a healthy respect for wildlife, and it teaches you that it also teaches you, that sometimes they're just being playful as well, but them being playful can hurt you a lot.
Yeah, that's true. So when you are talking about connecting with the wildlife, this question arises in my mind that how one will get uplifted from within when they are connected from the environment or wildlife.
Yeah. I think that's a very good question. People who have watched my virtual safaris or people who have come on safaris with me have really told me that it's been such an impactful experience for them in a positive manner, and they have never felt something like this. And I really don't think it has anything to do with um, uh, like their intention, or rather, let me back up. I think what happens is when they come to a place on a safari with someone like me, they connect to that place in a different manner. They forget the worries of the world. They are in the moment, listening to an alarm call, taking the fresh air, looking at the sun, looking at the moon. They calm down, they relax, they let the life go by slowly. And that takes them into a euphoric state with their inner self. And once they go there, then they reconnect with themselves, and they have a newer meaning to life. Then when they get back to the real world, they are so much better at anything that they're doing because they're fully recharged.
Wow, that's
Yeah, yeah,
amazing. Oh,
yeah. So you guys must come on a safari with me.
definitely, I would recommend everyone to
Please
try.
do, please do, please do. I would love.
Oh, so now I have one question that I ask to all of my guests, which is,
Okay.
what is success according to you?
Oh, very difficult question to ask. Um, I think uh, people always say that uh, success success is rather, to everyone, success is a little different. And for me, success has to be a few things. One, I should be able to create an impact in the world that gives me the most amount of high. Like, trust me, like, if I'm able to make someone smile, I am so happy, and I'm like, damn, I'm successful. Um, Similarly, when we did this big donation along with two of my friends to Bandhavgarh National Park authorities, especially the foot patrolling officers, seeing them happy made me so happy, and I'm like, I'm successful. Second, of course, is that's one kind of success. The second kind of success is being able to provide for my loved ones. Sometimes if I'm going on a dinner with my parents, they've provided for me for most of their lives, and now I can provide for them. That's success. Uh, to be able to take out time for myself, that's success. To be able to help others achieve something, that's success. Right now, there are so many people I've been able to talk to, and have a positive impact on their lives and their careers in my field because I've gone through that. And for me, that's success. So I think it's a mix of these factors. It's both materialistic and non-materialistic. It's emotional as well as materialistic, and I think that's how it is for me. Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing. Uh,
yeah.
now I would like you to imagine that you are on a stage and
Okay,
there's a huge audience which is sitting in front of you, and
okay,
they are just trying to listen to you, and but
okay,
you have 1 minute to give them a message. What would that be?
okay. What we can see, we can love, and what we can love, we will fight to protect. That's been my motto since a very long time, and I always encourage people to find different ways to connect with nature, to conserve nature. You don't have to go to a national park or a wildlife sanctuary to do that. You can get out of your house, look for a tree, look for a bird inside the tree, and see that if there's a way you can conserve that tree, or you can understand that bird and that tree a little more. And what I want to say is that always remember that the more you connect with nature, the more you connect with yourself. Cool. I hope that's 1 minute. Maybe it was lesser, but that's about it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And such a crisp message. And I think, yes, definitely, once we connect with nature, we connect with ourselves. That's really true. And I hope that all the listeners and the viewers of this podcast have taken something from this podcast and would definitely act, because acting only will make a difference, I feel. And once we start acting together, I think we can all make a huge difference. And
100%. 100%. And all of you guys listening, come say hi to me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Drop me a comment, drop me a hi, drop me anything, and then I would love to see you on my virtual safaris or safaris in person. And it'll be a fun time, and we'll get to learn a lot together.
definitely, and I'll be linking Zoe's handle in the description below, and
Done
so you
deal.
can just go and follow him and have a look at the wonderful work that he's doing. And I hope that you enjoy the virtual safaris also with him, because they are wonderful. So thank you, Suyash sir, for being on podcast
Pleasure.
and sharing all the wonderful insights from your experience. It was a wonderful talk.
Yeah. My pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Jay. And it's a pleasure being here. I look forward to meeting you someday, hosting you on a safari someday. So do sign up for that. I have one income in March, so if you have some time, come on. Okay.
Definitely, definitely. Okay,
All right.
yeah,
Cheers. Take care.
thank you. Look at that one sitting so beautifully perched up. Oh my god, what? No way. Oh, look at the beautiful sunset. Oh my god, the most beautiful time of the day.